Now then, you probably wouldn't have expected me to find this chap in Mel's Collectables, but in fact I did. And the funny thing was that when I told him sort of what it was and sort of why he might like to put it somewhere more prominent, that was news to him, because it's totally not his era at all. So this is the Vault Tech bobblehead for luck. The luck. I think it's a characteristic, I think, rather than a perk. But there are some perks, I think, that are similar to it as well. The interesting thing about this is from, I guess, from Fallout 4, because it's Vault 111. But I've got another one, which is from what must be Fallout 76, because he's got a 76 jumpsuit, and that one's for Perception. So I've now got two bobbleheads from Fallout. So, you know, in terms of things I wasn't looking to get on that particular Friday, this is definitely one of them. So, let's see what else I got from Mel. Now, the juxtaposition of these two just sort of amused me, really. Now, I said it on my introductory video for this series that I was going to try and get stuff that I hadn't got before. And so, this is my first ever NECA on the left here. I think this is the Jungle Predator. Not entirely sure. It hasn't got all these bits and bats with him, because again, it's not the sort of thing that Mel normally deals with. But he's obviously had a few in and liked the look of them and held on to it. So I may have missed out on some of the elements that I could have, like his shoulder plasma caster and so on. But I do quite like it just as a straightforward display model. You know, if nothing else, and because, you know, and there's a really good reason why I've been holding off getting NECA items, and that's because I think I'm going to like them too much, and I suspect that might well be the case, because he is really, really well sculpted. I mean, you know, the sheer level of detail in this is really, really impressive. There's good articulation on him as well, so you could put him in pretty much any pose you wanted, I suspect. But I didn't mind him. I quite like getting him freestanding, because it means that I don't have to hum and ha over getting him out of a packet. You know, I can just do it and not care about it too much, and it means that I can just display him in sort of where I feel like, basically. So yeah, overall, really, really nice model. So I'm pleased to have picked one up for the first time, just kind of loose. But as I say, I wouldn't have pegged it as being a Mel item at all. But the funny thing was, I also nearly thought to myself, I should do a sort of which shop did I get this from segment, because that would definitely people wouldn't have guessed that had come from Mel's, I think. Now, this little queen here, this little queen alien, this is similar to a normal alien that I randomly picked up, I think just off eBay actually. But I think she's rather cool. She just tickles me for some reason, because she's both sort of reasonably accurate, yet also completely inaccurate, if that makes any sort of sense whatsoever. You know, it's a tiny little scale. It's not in scale to anything in particular, apart from all the other figures in this line, I guess. But if anyone actually knows the flavour of this one, then would you let me know? Because I'm not quite sure what I searched on originally. I can probably look it up on eBay on the basis of the original one, but it probably just says like alien vinyl figure or something, you know. But I do like them. It's just funny, because it's accurate yet also entertaining, which is not something you generally get with Aliens, sort of franchise stuff. So, staying with the Aliens theme, this is an Aliens Ultimate Edition NECA, but again, this isn't a complete one. So, although it's got the box, it says NECA Real Toys on the side of it. I don't know exactly what sort of era of NECA rather it is, but it's got that rather nice sort of traditional Aliens film logo on the side there, and then details about what it's supposed to look like. Now, actually, I didn't really stop to think about this a lot before I got it, but I'm hoping that that if it is supposed to have a face hugger, it's got it in there, because if we open this up, I know that it's got most elements, it just doesn't have its packaging. So I'm hoping that, yeah, I can see it in there actually, it's definitely in the egg. Now, this I liked because rather than the Kenner sort of toy-esque versions of these, this actually looks like an alien. It's an alien's alien because it doesn't have a smooth head. So this is the one that Hicks and Hudson et al. Went up against. Nice imagery there as well. This rather reminded me of a Halcyon model kit. Those of you of a certain age may remember these Halcyon kits. They did various things like the drop ship and the alien from Aliens, which was very straightforward to put together because even I could do it, because you literally just needed glue and it was a very, very one piece. I haven't actually had this out before. So let's just have a quick look at what I've actually got in here. So I've got alien egg. And I've got face hugger. Nice. Well, not necessarily nice, but you know, I would recommend one as a pet, unless you particularly want to give birth to alien offspring. But you know, it is what it is. See, he goes over there, trying to break free, obviously. Let's have a look at the alien. I could see that it had all sort of 6 fingers. Of course, being NECA, I keep forgetting these things are articulated. I mean, it looks for all the world like it's just sort of a plastic model, but it's really, really not. So it's got a decent articulation there, big ball joints on its shoulders. I mean, that is properly menacing looking. It has to be said. Well done to them. I must say, I don't think I'd ever really twigged that they'd done an alien. I don't know quite. I mean, I must admit, as I say, I've never really gone looking for NECA stuff before because I know that it would be a massive, massive rabbit hole for me. You know, they do so many film-based creatures that I would immediately want to get if I really started sort of going for it with them. What I really wanted to do was get this because I'd seen this in the box. I'd seen the Predator sort of standing loose. I just thought it would be rude not to because they are such classic enemies, of course. If you're, I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen an Aliens vs Predator film somewhere along the way, but to my mind in the comics, the way that I read them being introduced to each other, the principle was that the Predators actually seed planets with alien eggs. So they actually hold queen captive to lay the eggs. Then they seed a planet with a few eggs, and they then hunt the aliens that hatch from those eggs. And that is actually a predator initiation rite. So in order to become a sort of fully fledged independent hunter, you have to first complete this ritual, which requires you to eliminate one or more of those seeded aliens. Sorry, I need 2 hands for this. So they have to bump off one of these seeded aliens, but they have to do it using quite traditional weaponry. They're not allowed to go sort of, you know, high firepower, so they can have sort of kind of hand weapons, but not sort of the plasma casters on their shoulders. The only exception to that rule is when they're going to try and harvest an alien queen. So if they're going for a queen, they're allowed to take slightly sort of heavier duty weaponry with them. But even then, the aim is to capture the queen alive. So they're not aiming for out and out mass destruction. They're just aiming to get in and out alive, basically. That's the idea. Now, this alien is proving quite difficult to pose, as you can probably tell. It might almost help if it sits on the egg. Right, there we go. Found a pose that works, sort of. Yeah, again, I mean, it's a really... Whoops. There we go. That's a really nice figure. And it's got this sort of the inner mandibles are really good. All the fingers are there, I think. Pretty sure they are they? Is it only 3 fingers, the alien? Maybe it is, actually, that could be right. I think it's a thumb but two sort of conjoined finger pairs. Just trying to see if there's any better way of doing it without breaking it, obviously. But they've got like this one's foot is a bit. One foot I think is a bit fixed in place there, so I don't want to break it. But yeah, that would take it's a little bit. I think because of the weight of the tail behind it, it's kind of wanting to pull it over like that, which is unhelpful. So if you're going to balance it, you're going to have to sort of jiggle around with it more than a little bit to try and get it to settle down. That's perhaps a little bit better with the legs a bit further apart like that. Okay, that's kind of got it. It's tricky. It's just slightly tricky. But it's got all the elements are there that I would expect from the Aliens version of the Aliens. So yeah, it's good. It's good for display. It's really, really good. I like the face hugger as well. I like the egg. Apparently, Guy got in real trouble for the original design of the egg because it looked a little bit like lady bits. So yeah, they had to change it. So yes, I mean, you look at these two together, and obviously, that's going to be issues are going to ensue. But the alien is actually, interestingly, the alien is taller than the Predator. I'm not sure if that's really as it should be. I think traditionally speaking, the Predator should be taller than the Alien. Oh dear. Alien, Predator wins. Marvellous. That's good. Okay, so what else did I get? Now, of course, this you'll be immediately familiar with, given the nature of many of my other videos on the channel. This is a Dinky Thunderbird 2. But Mel told me a very interesting story about this one because I hadn't realised that this existed. And as he described it to me, this is actually larger than another Dinky Thunderbird 2 that I have, which has yellow legs. This is the red-legged version, but it's bigger than my yellow-legged version because apparently they wanted it to have sturdier legs. So as you can see, these legs are now red, but it's still the same sort of Dinky era Thunderbird 2. It's still blue. So this is not one I particularly noted that there was a version of, and the legs flick out very nicely still, which is great. No Thunderbird 4 in the pod. He did check. And interesting that it's got this sort of black paint. Again, I just don't think I've ever seen this version of it. It's got a little. I'm not quite sure what this is intended for. This is just to keep the pod a little bit steadier when it comes down. I'm not quite sure. It's like a sort of curious addition. Oh, unless it's actually the pod's door that's... Hang on. I think it's the pod's door. It's the pod's door that's got caught as it went back in. You've got to watch that. That's obviously a cautionary tale there. You should try and avoid catching the... But it does want to drop out every time when I try and put it back in. So I guess the solution to that is to put the pod in like that, and that just keeps it out of harm's way. Now, I have no idea why they went for this particular paint job on this one, because putting it on a black and a blue, I mean, that's just weird. If you're going to make it a different colour than green, at least have it as a uniform colour. Looks like I've got a little bit of damage there actually, which I haven't noticed before. You can just about make out a spring in there as well, I think. Just caught the light right before, but I don't think it's probably a bit tricky to do. But it's nice. It's a nice example to have, and I might well do a separate video just comparing that with my sort of prior version of a Thunderbird 2. But for the purposes of doing a video off the back of it, I thought that was an interesting one to pick up, because I don't think I really consciously registered that there was another release of the Dinky Thunderbird 2. After the initial release, which I've already got an example of. So that was a nice thing to pick up. And that's probably, to this point, that's probably the most traditional thing that I would have expected to get from Mel's when I went there. And then some other stuff I wasn't expecting to see when I was there were comics. Some places do carry them, and by his own admission, these were just ones that happened to have come in. It's not really a major thing that he does, but he does also have vinyls, as I've probably mentioned already on the video. But these are the comics, and there are more there. But I just sort of randomly flicked through and just grabbed ones that really sort of called out to me. So we've got issue 50 here of the Transformers comic from the UK. It's got a little bit of a bent upper corner, but I can unbend those. I just like it for the front cover. There's a classic storyline called the Dinobot Hunt, and this didn't appear in the American US comic. So the American US comic, that's the tautology, isn't it? I think you'd call that. It didn't appear in the US version of the UK comic, because some of the UK, as you probably know, but a lot of the storylines for the UK version of the Transformers comic were only in the UK. So the UK had its own little continuity going, as well as republishing some of the American stories. And this was one of those UK only storylines. But it did give an extra dimension to the Dinobots as a sub-team at the time, which is very cool. And if this is the issue that I think it is, it's also got some classic Soundwave commentary going to it as well. In terms of him being very happy that they both managed to get oil from the oil to use as fuel and energon for the Decepticons, whilst also losing Autobots along the way, or at least damaging them, because they were trying to round up the Dinobots and protect humans. So all very, very cleverly done, but really nice front cover. Similarly, again, the Dinobots, no more Mr. Nice Guys. And the issue back in the early days of issue 31 of the comics. But you can see here the little sort of frame from the animation that changes every issue. So over time, it ends up being Optimus, but he's just in cab mode at this point because he hasn't got to issue 50 yet. So that was those two. Now, these are some old friends of mine, the Sleaze brothers. I haven't seen, they could even be my issues, I've no idea. But I think I sold all of these. And it was one of those annoying moments when I thought, do I still have them? Do I not still have them? I may discover I still have them. But it was one of those ones where I just picked them up at the time because they were from an imprint I'd never heard of, so Epic Comics. And I was like, well, is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was only Marvel and DC existed because I was young and innocent in those days. So I picked up a few of these, and they say they were the grand sum of 65 pence at the time when they came out. But they are quite funny because they do sort of reference things like aliens. They have sort of aliens, versions in them, which is hilarious. Not much going on this cover, eh, Deadbeat? Nope. It's very sort of dry wit. And this is where the aliens sort of reference comes in, as you can see, because they also end up with a power load of being used in this episode as well, as I recall, and the Alien Queen. So there we go. Deadbeat doesn't say much. Bless him. Going down the pan. Pick this up because it just looks like a classic sort of 80s comic front cover to me. DC TSR imprint Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, issue number 2, new format apparently. And interestingly, it has got a UK 70p price on it, so it's not just a US pricing. So that's quite interesting. I've kind of got it for the adverts again, just to see what sort of adverts might be in it as a sort of matter of interest. But I'm thinking it's 80s. Maybe it'll be a bit later than that. I'm not sure. This one I picked up just because it's a New Universe imprint, and this was when Marvel decided to try something new, which didn't really take off. But like Starbrand and Spitfire, they tried this as a sort of a new title under the New Universe sort of subheading. So I'm going to have a little look at that one, and again, just sort of see what sort of adverts and stuff are in there. Now then, good old 2000 AD, and again, not the sort of thing I went into that shop thinking I was going to come away with. But I just love these covers, and this is absolutely bang on my era of 2000 AD. So we've got Feral on the cover here, and it's just, the artwork's just beautiful. Feral battles Alpha Strontium Dog. So he had a bit of an issue with with Johnny Alpha, the Strontium Dog. Why do we not have a Strontium Dog film by now? Come on, let's have another run of Dread and 2000 AD related films, shall we? That would be nice. 35p, that was all it was. I used to cycle around for ages trying to find 2000 ADs on the day of release. For some reason I didn't have a standing order. And how I was able to collect these without my parents banning them, I've no idea. This is what you get away with comics when you're little, I think. Because they never really stopped to think what it was I was actually reading. Because, 2000 AD is remarkably violent for a small person to be reading. So I got away with that somehow. This one I remember because it's Dredd, but not in Dredd's uniform. So he goes undercover, I think, to South America, where there's a different megacity, but then the judges have a different uniform. So that was quite an interesting sort of departure from what he normally had. So issue Prog 624 there. God, yeah, it would have been early teens for this one. I'm not even sure if that's just one issue. Oh, that's Tyranny Rex. Wow. I was confused with the character. The strips were quite out there with her. We've got Chopper here, Super Surf 11. Again, I mean, that's Bisley artwork. It was just gorgeous. Such a lovely, lovely strip that. And that's just, classic 2000 AD cover. And here we have a much younger Chopper. So we bounce from 6th of January 1990 to 7th of November 1987. And you can just see how much it changed in between times. And I think I got into 2000 AD just on the cusp when it was moving from this sort of logo to its modern logo there. So I think it was issue, I want to say it was about 589 that I first started getting 2000 AD, but that was one of the differences there. So that looks like he's going over the city wall into the cursed earth, and then it was only 28 pence in orbit every Monday. Now, this was an interesting one. The funny thing about this was, I've got a few annuals to my name, it has to be said, but I know the name Starburst because Starburst was I think it was a monthly magazine that came out, and it was your go-to information point for all things science fiction and fantasy in the film world and elsewhere in the days before the internet. But when I was looking at this in the shop, I suddenly twigged this is from Buck Rogers. These guys are getting blown up on the hangar deck of the enemy ship from the Buck Rogers pilot episode. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So if you think I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure. I was quite proud of myself when that clicked. I think that's probably Robin Williams as Popeye, and obviously we know what that is. So I'm going to be interested to have a flick through that at some point. Grandine's annual. So that's cool. Oh yeah, Marvel Grandine's, that's right, because they were doing that bit of a tie-in together there. I think Starburst may even have been issued by Marvel, actually, curiously. Now this I got because, Maya, Space 1999, hello, and other alien-type creatures. So again, just with that, and it's Starlog as well, so that'll be quite interesting to have a look through, I think, and to see what's there. It might send me down all sorts of random paths, but again, quite a thick, soft book though. It's not an annual; it's a sort of a general soft copy. And I got this just because it's got some really cool cross sections, as you can see from the front cover. But it's got all sorts of funky stuff going on there, like the Hood's Temple. I just love stuff like this. I mean, I don't think you wouldn't get this these days, but got Marineville cutaway there. It's all really sort of interesting stuff just to have a sort of an idle flick through on a quiet moment, just to see how much effort someone has gone into thinking that through and sort of typing it all up and obviously illustrating it within an inch of its life. It's just incredible. So I do like sort of cutaway tech manual kind of books like that. Star Trek Next Gen tech manual used to be one of my favourites for many years before the internet came along and gave you sort of memory alpha and stuff like that. So nearly at the end now. Thank you for bearing with, but there is one last thing that caught my eye that I eventually got. So this caught my eye because of the Battle of the Planets linkage. Obviously, I've been getting a few bits and bobs of Battle of the Planets of late, and I basically said to Mel, I said, Mel, what is this? It appears to be a frisbee, because I was going by this. So he explained to me that it wasn't a frisbee. This was a thing that came out from Peter Pan Playthings, which he basically very honestly said to me are a bit rubbish in terms of toys. It's not in mint condition. The box is very battered and it's not complete. But this is a classic case of show me another one, because you probably won't be able to. And he said to me, there weren't that many Battle of the Planets toys, and I explained to him that I'd recently got hold of toys that had been released which were ostensibly Battle of the Planets based, but were actually Science Ninja Team Gatchaman toys, which I think was a gap in his knowledge, because again, this isn't really his sort of forte era wise. So what I've got here is a very beaten up disc gun kind of game. But the idea with this is rather clever, because what you're supposed to do is fire the discs but have the other person catch them. 6 super safe Stellar Squillions a pound. Woo, and there we go. That's okay, they're plastics, they're fine. So you have this thing as a launcher, which you would just sort of, and you've got this here. So you would have had a sort of a cone-shaped thing here to actually catch these little discs as they whizzed out. So I don't know if I've got all 6. I've definitely got 4. I'll just pick 2 up off the floor. So I've got that many discs for it. There. So, not complete, but, it's sort of, why they're calling them Space Raiders, there's no mention of, interestingly, it does mention G-Force on the box, but I've only actually got one gun, so as I say, it is very incomplete, actually, when you think about it, but I've got 1 gun and 4 discs, so there would have been another gun and another 2 discs, I think, from what it's saying on the box. Made in England by Peter Pan Playthings Limited, Bretton, Peterborough. Licensed by... Is it Takatoku licensed? It is, it's Takatoku licensed, bless them. So they actually took a proper licence. From Takatoku, not Bandai. That's interesting. Not Poppy either, so nothing to do with... So it must have been quite early. I'm just looking for... I just wanted to show you where it said that. Completely lost it now. I haven't made it up, have I? No, there we go. Sandy Frank Film Syndication 1980, patent pending. There we go. Okay. Where did I see that Takatoku thing? I am over 36 months, that's okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Licensed by Takatoku. Just lurking in the corner there. You could easily miss it. And that's where they lived, apparently, as well. So, learn something new every day, as they say. So, there you go. Join G-Force in their desperate battle to save Earth from the evil forces of Spectra. Yeah, so I think I'm missing a couple of discs and one of these, but if somebody else were missing one of those, we could combine them and make a mighty game of disc catching. So basically, it would have just they just fit in there, you see. Ping them out. You want me to try? I'm not sure if I want to try, but I could try. Let's try. Oh, good lord. Oof, yeah. Now you might remember a while ago, I had something similar to this. Or similar for disc shooting things. Though it was definitely a thing for a while, I think. Here we go. Whoa! Good grief, that was lethal. Okay. Wasn't really expecting it to be quite that lethal, but I suppose if you were outside at distance, you'd be alright with it. Good lord. Okay, yeah, so that was, I imagine that the catcher thing would have sort of slid in here and just have been sort of held on top, but as oddities go, that's why I like going into shops like this, and why I think we should do our best to try and help them survive. Because where else would I have spotted that even on all my eBay searches, I can't say that I've ever seen this before. And had I just seen it on an eBay search, I would never have picked it up. Not a cat in hell's chance, quite frankly. So yeah. So that was Mel's. Those were all of my pickups from Mel's. And it has to be said, he did get the bulk of my my buying activity that day, simply because a lot of his selection did just tickle me in the right place. But I will cover everything else that I got as well on following videos. So I think that's it for that one. So I'll say cheers for now.